If your soloing feels confusing, frustrating, or repetitive, you're not alone. Today we're going to talk about a quick-to-learn strategy that makes it easier to play naturally and musically, whether you're a beginner or an intermediate guitarist. Think about walking into a giant buffet for the first time. There are dozens of dishes, pasta, proteins, salads, desserts, so much that you don't even know where to start. If you try to pile everything onto your plate, it's just a messy mix of flavors that don't really go together at all. But if you choose just one or two dishes that go well together and really savor them, you actually enjoy the meal. You notice the seasoning, the textures, the way each bite works with the next. Soloing on the guitar works the same way. If you try to use every note in a scale right away, it comes out cluttered and random. But if you focus on just a handful of notes, suddenly your playing sounds intentional, melodic, and satisfying. So what's the one thing you can do right now to immediately sound better when you solo? It's called limitation practice, and I promise you this works for any guitarist, beginner, intermediate, and even advanced. By playing fewer notes, you'll actually start to sound more expressive and melodic. Now today's video is brought to you by my brand new guitar course, The Musical Way to Solo, where we cover how to better use the most useful scale shapes and arpeggios for your soloing. Now, this course makes it incredibly simple to solo and accomplish that in a very short time. The link is in the description down below. Let's get back to the lesson. When most of us learn the pentatonic scale, for example, we typically might play this shape. The standard minor pentatonic, box 1. Now when we use that, we end up wanting to use the entire thing right away. It usually ends up sounding something like this. Now that was technically correct and in key because I played it off of the A, but it doesn't sound musical at all. And I was just running laps around the fretboard instead of telling a succinct and to-the-point story. Let's talk about limiting what we do with a scale in order to make things sound more musical. Now I first saw this concept in action years ago when Ron Bumblefoot Thal visited my music academy to teach a workshop. And he would bring students up on stage to jam with him and the band. And one guy started soloing across the entire pentatonic scale, but it just sounded stiff and rehearsed. It was basically something like this. It didn't really go anywhere. But Ron stopped him and said, "You can only play these two notes. Just those two fret positions on the G string." The band kicked in again, and as soon as the guy began to play, he suddenly sounded more musical and much more interesting. And why? Because he had no choice but to get creative with those two fret positions. He bent the notes, he added rhythm, used slides, he started listening to the band instead of racing up and down the scale. It was a total transformation. Let's try the same thing with the A minor pentatonic. Instead of using the whole scale, we'll just take 4 fret positions on the 2 strings. That's it. So these 4 fret positions, 4th string, 5 and 7, and then the 3rd string, 5 and 7. Let's try it. You hear that difference? It already sounds more musical because I'm not trying to play everything at once. And this works at every level. Beginners instantly sound better because they're not overwhelmed. Intermediate and advanced players stop overplaying and find fresh ideas in the small details. And as you can see, I was using pinch harmonics and hammer-ons and bends and things like that to make it a little more interesting since I had such a small amount of notes to choose from. So when you practice with these self-imposed limits, focus on things like that, like rhythm. Play short notes, long notes, syncopated. Or maybe focus on leaving space. Leaving silence is a powerful tool to build your ideas. articulation like slides and bends and hammer-ons and pull-offs, and vibrato. You can take it even further. Try limitation practice with just hammer-ons, or only bends, or only slides. You can focus on one technique at a time. You'll grow much faster because you're spotlighting one skill at a time. And let's just try hammer-ons and pull-offs as an example. So as you can see, I just experimented with some hammer-ons and pull-offs and came up with a couple of quick little passages there. And that's what you do. You focus on one thing at a time. Work on your vibrato and just play vibrato all the time on the notes, or just do a bunch of bends. See what works with just the few fret positions that you've chosen. And one important thing, always do this with a backing track, not just a metronome or a drum machine. The harmonic context is what forces you to create phrasing that fits the music. Just search A minor backing track on YouTube, and you've got hours of practice material waiting at your fingertips. So what if I want to use a scale shape that has more notes than the pentatonic? Let's take a major scale as an example. Will this limitation exercise work with it too? Of course it will. Let's take a look at the A major scale as an example. This one here. Now that is a ton of notes, and unless you limit what you're playing, it's probably going to end up sounding scalar. So let me try to play something tasty where I land on solid note choices, but I'll still use the entire scale shape, and you're going to see what I mean. So I did hit some nice notes in there on the right chords, but by using the entire thing, it just didn't sound intentional, and there wasn't a real strong sense of melody. Let me try it again, and I'm going to limit myself to, let's just take the middle again. Those 6 fret positions, those are the only fret positions I can play inside of the A major scale. And I'll try to use some rhythmic ideas, some note decorations, and above all, I will try to listen to the track better to push the melody forward. Now, as you can hear, that sounded much more intentional and, frankly, much more melodic. Now, it doesn't mean everything's going to be gold for you, but some of those ideas were pretty good. It does increase your chances of playing something more meaningful and tasty when you limit the scope. And remember, playing less really is more. Your ear, phrasing, and your musicality all develop faster when you stop trying to play everything at once. So that has to do with scale shapes as well as all these note decorations. Don't focus on a billion things at one time. Now, we use the standard pentatonic in this video lesson at the beginning, but if you want to go deeper into more useful pentatonics, don't forget to check out my brand new course, The Musical Way to Solo, where we cover how to better use diagonal pentatonics, major scales, and arpeggios for your solos. You can also check out a recent video I made on diagonal pentatonics right here.